you're new to pool and practicing the basics, or a more experienced player performing drills to improve your shot making and positional play, the Drill Partner is perfect for you.
Mike, let me ask you something. Do you think this is a good idea? Just
What's that?
look, I always defer to you when it comes to advice. I'm not so sure this is going to be. I'm a little nervous. So before I sit down,
Nervous.
I just
Come
want
on,
to
this
know
is
what
this
Uncle
is
Mike
the
thinks. You never steer me wrong, buddy.
this is the special 3-hour episode of the Netflix series, The Real Greatest Showman.
Oh, shit. I like it, man. Still in their thunder, Mike. Well, Mike, have you been on the internet today, Mike? Have you?
I have.
You have. Okay.
I have.
Okay.
Yeah, you've been pretty entertaining.
I have. If people only knew the level of of troll and pettiness that Pinozo has like up his sleeves in there, like y'all would just be dying. The Hall of Famer is
Here's the difference. I know when to hit the send button and I know when to eat it.
well, look, I don't mind pissing people off, but it seems like today, especially, that yeah, there might be some of that, and there might have already been some of that. And I don't know about you, Mike, but I know I probably got a few messages today on my phone. And they probably weren't.
Well, I don't know if there's anything to be pissed off about. I mean, really, I don't know. Where do you want to go first?
Okay, we got a lot to dissect. Hopefully, you guys are enjoying the last 24 hours since we last did our show. Like MV says, this is for you, actually, MV. He's always dedicated. He's always in. When I said we were going to do back to back, I meant it. There's a lot of stuff to dive into. If you guys have been off of Facebook, go check out the Matchroom Pool Facebook feed. It's just been blowing up with surprises. MV says the Sky pick is insane, which me and Mike called that for the last couple of weeks, and we're going to dive into that one as well. But I want to start with what you had been saying, Mike. And to be honest with you, even though like we talk a lot, obviously we got a great relationship both on and off the show. This I did not see coming, Mike, and so I kind of want to start there. Neither co-brother we will see in Manila, Mike. Both of them, not we expected one. Neither of them are going to be on the Asian team, and I'll kind of want to get your first thought and reaction.
We talked about it. We talked about it yesterday, and they're not in Hanoi, and it's been pretty obvious that you had to be in Hanoi to be in the Reyes Cup, and probably it had to be in Hanoi really to be in the Mosconi Cup. So, so they're not there. So, I mean, I don't know. I have not gotten official word from Matchroom that they're out, but it's
by default.
Yeah. So they have to live by the same rules that everybody else had to live by going into this, which was kind of presented, I think, to the players, pretty much around the time or shortly after that, is that listen, Hanoi's a big deal to us. You want to be in these other events, you gotta come and support Hanoi. Okay, so everybody knew what they were getting themselves into if they decided not to go, or getting themselves out of if they decided not to go to Hanoi, including Ping Yiko and Ping Chunko. So, we know they're in Duya playing the Chinese nine ball. We know the prize fund is huge.
Nice.
So I don't know that this is, Matchroom snubbing them as much as it is they made a decision that, okay, I can live without the Reyes Cup if we're going to go play in this event in Duya.
I'm going to turn this topic off for just a minute because you dropped in a little nugget of a bombshell and then just kind of like breezed on by it, and you think I'm just going to let you off the hook with it, and I'm not. So,
what did I do? Don't give me.
You mentioned in there Mosconi Cup as well. If you are not in Hanoi, you will not be in Mosconi Cup. So I'm gonna bite on that little nugget there. So are you?
No, see, I don't know that. I don't know that for sure. I do know for sure that they're not being held to that any kind of like threat, or however you want to refer to it, by playing in the Philippines Open. The Mosconi Cup will be chosen after the Philippines Open, but they're not telling players you have to be at the Philippine Open to be in Mosconi. But my thought is that I'd be very surprised if you could skip Hanoi and the Philippines and still be. I think a lot of guys are skipping the Philippines. I think all of Team USA. Well, I heard that Federer might stay in the Philippines for the Philippines Open and then go to Qatar from there, but not sure. But are not going to the Philippines Open, and it's not going to jeopardize their chances for Mosconi. But everybody knew if you didn't go to Hanoi, you were at least getting jeopardized for Reyes. And I would kind of assume, because it's not just about Reyes, it's about both of those events and Matchroom's high expectations for Hanoi. So, and I don't blame them. I mean, listen, this is a big event for them, and they understand there's going to be some players going to go to a world championship and make other decisions, but there's got to be some ramifications, or at least some support for the people who support your event.
I get that. I completely understand that. Look, I'm just gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave it here with this question, Mike, because I don't think that's a whole other bombshell in and of itself. But today, what are we? October 10th. In your opinion, Mike, do you think we will see Shane Van Boening and Joshua Filler at the Mosconi Cup this year?
I do not expect to see Josh Filler. I would not expect to see Shane. Just by nature of, listen, if you're gonna hold one person to a standard, you got to hold everybody to it, right? Should Shane be treated differently than the Cole brothers, Filler, anybody else who's not there? It's hard to sell, because not only, if you make the exception, not only do you piss off the people who you left out, you kind of piss off the people that went to Hanoi because you told them they had to. And here's someone like Shane, who obviously didn't go to Hanoi. And so
he will not be in.
I mean, he won't be in the Philippines. So, but the Philippines Open, again, it's not there's no gun to anybody's head to play in the Philippines. Now, the big question is, was there anything said to anybody in Hanoi about Mosconi, having to be in Hanoi to be in Mosconi? That I don't know. I'm just kind of speculating on that, because that's what we do.
Yeah, I mean, once every 6 months we get something right, and I'm being I'm being kind of generous, saying 6 months, Mike. You know what I mean? So
yeah, probably 9 months, but whatever.
Look, I'll tell you this, and I'm going to bring back up the Co's topic here thereafter. But what I will tell you is, playing in 20 consecutive Mosconi Cups was important to Shane, and is important to Shane. And if he's not going to be out there, that's going to be pretty shitty for Shane, especially considering that that was important to him. So anyway, I digress.
Well, it's not important enough for him to skip the World 8 ball to play in Hanoi.
Fair enough.
So you make your own decisions and you live by your own. Could Matchroom still put Shane in the Mosconi Cup? Yeah, I mean, they can do anything they want. It's their sandbox. So, but it's one of those things you gotta tread really lightly around. It's if you leave Shane out, are the American fans and players all ticked off at you, and have you burned a bridge there, or if you let him in, do you?
There's a lot of players that are
tick off a lot of the other players. So it's going to be, it's their decision. I don't even know if they've made it yet or not.
I don't think it's been made. But it's certainly on the table. That I can tell you. It is certainly on the table.
Listen, we've also heard Shane. You know, it's important to play in these events, and every one that he's gone to where they've gotten killed, we've always heard him say, "I don't really care about this event anymore. I'm not going to play next year." He said that many years as well, so he can make the decision to play.
Yeah,
I think he knows that the kind of end of that run is coming. So who knows? He may say, you know, whether you want me or not, I'm going to take a pass this year. It's in London. If it was in the U.S., it might be different, but it's in London. Maybe he's like, I don't really feel like going over there.
Let's just shelve it for now, Mike. I want to go on tilt about it. Trust me, I do. Trust me. I want to go on tilt about it. Okay, and I mean, I want to go like fucking dead off on it. Okay, but I'm gonna leave it alone. We got bigger fish to fry. Cole Brothers not gonna be there next week in Manila, Mike. Yesterday we did a show. I asked you point blank, and that was one of the more like honest. I mean, listen, it's usually pretty genuine reactions between the two of us. But I genuinely did not know the percentage you were going to go and tell me when I asked you what you thought as far as the Cole brothers not being there in Manila. You told me 98% is what you thought. I was shocked.
I left some wiggle room.
You did. You left yourself an out. It wasn't much of an out. The window was open though, ironically enough. So what's your thought on us not seeing either one of the Cole brothers given the year that they've had? And how much that they, in my opinion, that they do go and move the needle for American pool in general.
Listen, if you're talking about moving the needle, we found out today about moving the needle.
We're gonna get to that. Listen, we got.
I mean, they're tied together. They're tied together. Do the Cole brothers deserve to be there? Yeah, of course. Does Filler deserve to be there? Yeah, of course. Does Okachi deserve to be here? Probably. I mean, who knows? So you know, it just part of it just is what it is. So it's no, again, it's no different with Filler not being there. It is with the Coes not being there.
I want to just go on the record because I made a post earlier and I said the Cole brothers were snubbed from playing the Reyes Cup. That is not the case. They chose to go play in Duya. I reached out to Cole Penny.
Just like Shane, just like you know,
Filler. We've had a good relationship over the years. You know, I've bought and sold from them many a times. And so I texted them and I said, I asked them point blank. I said, was this y'all's decision or, you know, and then I kind of left the door open for whatever, right? And point blank, they said it was our choice to go and play in Duya. Now, we know the prize money is massive out there. I mentioned online, over $280,000 for first place, and that's just for first place. And not to mention the fact that I've been seeing some things online in terms of like sponsorship. And listen, hey, ball money, Chinese pool money is massive, Mike. I mean, you can't even wrap your head around the amount of money that are being pumped into that market, and we don't have a clue about because we just do more American pool stuff. So like, but it's huge, Mike. So from a financial standpoint, I can understand it. I'm obviously disappointed, you know, because I want to see them. The fan in me wants me to see it, right? I want to see the Cole brothers on there, at least one of them, for that matter. But today, by default and seeing it, I'll kind of transition there, Mike. I was shocked to see. I was shocked, and then I wasn't shocked to go and see AJ Manis.
Well, yeah, no, you called that yesterday. You called AJ Manis as being your pick yesterday for you know the fifth for a wild card Reyes Cup thing, and I thought that's, you know, it may happen because of the metrics, but I thought that was kind of a crazy thought. But here he's the first person announced. And you know, Boosty's pick, I guess.
As much as Huang was Efren's pick, right?
Well, no, a little different, a little bit different. I think Boosty does love AJ Manis. That I'll buy into that. Okay, so you know, would he have had a problem with it even if it wasn't his initial pick? Probably not, because I really do think he's high on the kid and you know, loves the idea of someone young, whatever. So yeah, AJ Manis is on there. We went over this yesterday. All the other you know, so now you've got a third Filipino on a 5-player Asian team. Okay, so that kind of, to a certain extent, it makes me think that Boosty had a lot of influence in the pick, because if you're Matchroom and you're trying to grow the metrics and grow the visibility and grow the thing, you don't want 3 Filipinos. Jesus. How many do you need to draw Filipino fans? You want, 2 Filipinos, a Vietnamese player, a Taiwanese player, and an Indonesian player. That's what you want. Ideally, if it is your sandbox and you can make the team however you want, that's the way you build it. You don't need 3 Filipinos to get the Filipino crowd.
I could not disagree with you anymore, like in my heart of hearts, Mike, because number one, I disagree on the fact that this is a Bustamante pick. Okay, I think Boosty barely learned about Facebook maybe like 2 weeks ago. When Emily.
No, I don't think it has anything to do with Facebook. I think Bustamante likes AJ Manis.
Well, I'm not talking
I'm saying
personal liking him. I'm sure he likes a lot of Filipinos. I'm sure he's high on the kid like everybody is. Like,
I would have said
potential.
I would have said the same thing. I would have said the same thing if they announced Bernie Regulario today. I would have said, but Matchroom, I don't think I was going to run out there and say we want 3 Filipinos out of 5 players, because you don't need that for the Filipino fan base.
He's different. He's different in the sense that he brings younger eyes. He brings a whole different area of social media to the event. He has a potential to go and boost ticket sales. He's got a potential to go and boost viewership. What that kid can't do that. Give him some respect. You can't do that. You can't. Don't be silly. Not yet, anyway. You know what I mean? I think like if all things were. If we were to rewind, right? Because the Carlo pick, we didn't see coming last year, right? I mean, we did it was obvious that it should have been, but we were both surprised whenever he was picked, right? That was fair for your reaction to Carlo being picked last year.
We kind of had a thought that they would want 2 Filipinos, right?
Yeah, but see, I think like this is where
that to me makes sense. 2 Filipinos makes sense. 3 doesn't.
I think that. From what this tells me, Mike, is that there's a real concern for ticket sales and viewership for that event, is what that tells me. And me and you were there in Manila last year, Mike. Now the people who were there, it was great. There was passion at times, right? Nothing like a Moscone Cup, because you've been to many Moscone Cups. I've been to a couple, and so the atmosphere was very different. We can all see the potential of it, right? But
right.
I don't think they're looking at it in I think that they just kind of put everything in a vacuum. You're playing in Manila, right? Carlo forced your hand by winning the world championship, right? By winning the world nine ball. There's no way in hell you can leave him off. Chua, Q-Tech guy, number 1. Number 2, he was the de facto captain of the team. Everybody, loves the kid, performs really well. He was last year's Hanoi Open winner, so you can't leave him off, right? He was pretty much like outside of a playing MVP, he was like the team MVP, if that makes sense, Mike.
So what you're telling me is they have the top 2 Filipino players, but they need AJ Manis to draw a Filipino crowd.
Yes, that's because you had the top 2 Filipino players already, Mike, and did you draw a Filipino crowd?
Well, no, but last year was the first year. We didn't expect last year to be off the wall.
But this is where I think that there was some concern as far as viewership and ticket sales, because this is what this screams to me. This is about look, this is about and I said this yesterday, this is about as thirsty a pick as you're ever going to see in your entire life, because this just shows the value that they will put there. They are shitting on, in my opinion, 10 other Filipinos who are in front of AJ in terms of rankings, right?
Right. We talked about
not to mention the fact that I haven't even looked, but there's other Asian players in general who are ahead of AJ Manis as well.
Yeah.
So like if market was that important, you would have gone a different route in terms of like a Taiwanese player and whatever, because they would move mountains for Huang. I guarantee you. The way that they go and take selfies with the guy goes and ties his shoes and they want to post that on Facebook. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, love Huang, great player. accomplished way more than AJ, right? And I'm not saying the kid doesn't have a lot of potential. And I want to make sure that that gets like thoroughly brought out when it comes to us discussing this kid and dissecting him. And it's a little unfair because he's kind of in the microscope, but like you took what they gave you and you really didn't earn it. You know what I mean? Like getting getting a Facebook following, and whenever you have, and I'm talking about sports, Mike, right? I'm talking about competition and fucking sports. Like this is as blatant a big fuck you to every single player that has gone and played match in and match out, country in, country out, traveled all over the world, accumulated these ranking points that you said were important, right? If you by you picking this kid, you just shit on all of them in one fell swoop in the hopes that he moves the needle in Manila next week. It's not even a guarantee, but they're gonna tag him on every Instagram post. They're gonna tag him on every TikTok post. They're gonna tag the kid on every Facebook post.
Right. Well, we talked about this before too, and you know, an event like Reyes, an event like Mosconi, I have no problem with them doing promoter stuff, right?
Right.
The problem that I have is that after that, please remove the word merit from your vocabulary because it doesn't make a difference. Now, if there were 6 invitational events and merit got you into 4 of them, like the World Cup of Pool or the World Pool Masters or PLP or whatever else you want, then there's still some merit value there, right? But without those events, there's no value to the merit because now you're really down to 2 invitationals, and they're both the Reyes and Mosconi, which are the 2 events that I would give them the leeway to build how you want to build them for maximum visibility.
Yeah.
That I don't have any problem with that, right? But this whole merit or build, you better bring back the World Cup of Pool. You better bring back World Pool Masters. You better add something to the PLP because that's just a you know, a programming play. So you need something like that. Then all of a sudden, then the merit based makes some difference again. Okay, right now with really your only events being the Reyes and Mosconi that you're going to do on your own anyways, there is no value to the points.
Yep. And that's where I take issue. You know, like if you were going to go and listen, there's been a massive push in terms of players being more active on social media, and kudos to everyone who has jumped on board. It has been a long and at a snail's pace process, but now there's more of a flow, which is great and much needed for that matter, Mike. You know,
Yeah.
But like, and if you were gonna go and just be upfront about it from the jump, right? Then I got no problem with it. I get no fucking issue with it because listen, the reality is to all these other Filipino players and all these other Asian players, listen, and this is not just for them for that matter. This is for a lot of pool players. They just don't move the needle enough, and that's the reality of it. You know, and it's sad and it sucks and blah blah. And they don't move the needle.
I've got the answer.
Okay.
We get rid of points.
Okay.
And ranking based on followers.
Might as well.
then it's a merit system. Then it's a merit-based system. He who has the most followers event.
Well, they pretty much did that already.
It's freaking brilliant. If I don't mind patting myself, I think that's the answer.
Well, I mean, I think this just further shows this in general, like it just brings up a bigger issue, and that's just how flawed the rankings are in general. Because the World Championship is basically the equivalent of, let's see, if you were to win 5 other majors, right? That's $200,000, right? And you were to win 5 of them,
50,000 behind
winning the world. So like basically, what you're telling everybody is you should only go and play the World Championships and Hanoi, right? Because of what the potential of Vietnam could be, and everything else is just kind of like we can change it as we want. Nobody's ass is safe.
Yes and no. Yes and no. You got to finish top 4 in the World Championship to have that impact. That's a hard tournament to finish top 4. If you can just event this year, let's go to the World Championship and finish top 4, have at it.
and then do like Kachi did, right? And just say, fuck it, I'm coasting the rest of the year. You know, I just look, and I want to get to the question. I want to get.
That's the biggest. We saw that it doesn't work really because Carlo won the world championship and had to play in Hanoi to be able to play Reyes.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So you know, he couldn't.
I would much rather. This is where look, and I know we're playing Monday morning quarterback here, Mike, but all this shit going on further makes me respect what Josh did even more, because Josh was like, you're not going to dictate to me where I can and cannot play. You know, like he was not afraid to go against the grain, you know, and not afraid to stand up for himself for that matter either. Because I really wish that Carlo would have said, you know what, and listen, you build legacies off of fucking world championships, and whatever prestige that you would have put in terms of like a Mosconi Cup or a Reyes Cup for this conversation is now at the fucking door now, because now it's just it's purely for show. Purely for show and just trying to get more clicks. That's all you're saying. So like the prestige in terms of sports is now, that conversation's done. It's buried. It's 6 feet underground, whatever the fuck. It's over with, Mike. Whenever you make a move like this. Now I want to kind of just ask you here, Mike, how are you feeling if you're one of these other Filipino players who were ahead of AJ and who did grind out all year long? How are you feeling this evening or today, Mike?
Well, I don't know. I mean, you know, it depends on. I don't know how bitter any of them are. All right, so
I don't know.
You know, they're in a pretty thick group, especially all the Marboy guys. You know, they share their money anyway, so they're all going to get a piece of AJ's money. But it's just a matter of, you know, I don't know how bitter they are. Someone like James Aranis, you know, who's been in a couple of these big states, World Cup pool, you know, a couple deep runs in big events. He probably feels like he certainly should be in there. That someone like Bernie or Jeffrey, they've gone out, showed up, and they've showed out. So,
and guess where it got you? It got you.
Well, we'll find out next year whether they're as game to fly around the world for tournaments again, or whether they're just going to stay in the Philippines and go just play when they come to Asia. We'll find out next year whether they're pissed off about it. Now, we talked about this yesterday. If I were, I don't know how much time off there is between Hanoi and the Reyes Cup, but I want to see a Filipino promoter put up 20,000 as a warm-up match for Team Asia ahead of the Reyes Cup and say, you played 5 of these guys who got left out over 2 days, Mosconi Cup style, Reyes Cup style, 20,000 to the winning team, winner take all. I think the Philippine team kicks their ass.
At least you got a chip on your shoulder, which is what we're missing in these invitational events. You know what I mean? So like that I can buy into for sure. Look, I don't personally, Mike, I haven't talked to anyone, I haven't messaged anyone on like in terms of Filipino players to ask them how they feel. I'm just kind of assuming that I'm really feeling better today. I'm really feeling shit on today, and I'm highly gonna consider the events that I go and play from here on out, because the merit factor of what you've been selling me on is a big crock of shit today. It just genuinely is. And listen, I saw the video with Emily walking around with Boosty and this was all the captain's pick. Give me a break, Mike. Just spare me already at this point. You know, because it's just as sincere and a shock as it was seeing Sky and Jeremy told him that day this morning that he was going to be picked on the team, which we'll get to that here in a minute as well. You know, so
was you shocked?
Was I shocked?
Back to the
video. Oh, was he shocked? Oh, let me tell you, he ain't winning any Oscars. I'll tell you that, buddy. You know what I mean? Like, there's no Academy Awards here. But anyway, we'll get to that in just a minute, Mike. I want to jump on to the next question here in terms of the AJ pick. What do you think this is going to do for viewership and ticket sales for the Reyes Cup?
I don't know about ticket sales. I mean, I don't know. You know, are all his, you know, he's got on all his platforms combined, I'm told like over 1.5 million followers, right?
Yeah.
Got to assume a good chunk of them are in the Philippines. So will he be putting out the word? I mean, will he be putting out the word on his page, like come and watch me play, which is great because then he's kind of put himself up there. He better damn well perform. you don't want to call all your friends into the room to watch you, which he did when he got. Listen, he got the PLP because he's young. AJ minus next guy didn't show up there. So
he got into PLP because of social media as well.
Right.
So
that's what I mean. But he did not gain any big followers after the PLP. I guarantee you that. So he's putting his chin out there a little bit, which is fine. Get out there and play, prove it. Let's see. Maybe he turns into a star overnight, even a bigger star overnight, by talent as opposed to just by followers. I mean, I'm really curious as to how he's got 1.5 million followers right now. What's the draw? What did I miss?
Are you thirsty too, Mike? We can try to come up with some like viral strategies to get Pinozo.
Listen, I mean, he's not a world champion. He's not a great champion. He's a great young talent. And he's got a little, little vibe like that. But that's a lot of followers for someone who's kind of, a pro.
I think it's like social media drama is what it is, and maybe more Filipino fans can correct me or educate me. And I'm going to reach out to some Filipino page promoters as well to bring them on leading up to the Reyes Cup as well to kind of get some more insight in this, Mike, because they would offer a great perspective. But I think a lot of it was that JB Sukal rivalry, you know what I mean? Because I'm assuming that pumped up both their numbers quite a bit, and they went back and forth on some shit talking videos. And
JB Sukal going to be the first one.
Listen, if by this, fuck, I'm telling everybody better move over. Chua, move over. Carlo, move over. I'm bringing in JB. By that standard, you know what I mean. So, obviously, it's in jest because I love both those guys, but it's a different. This feels like it's a different standard today, Mike. It's a different game today, because when you make a pick like this, like I said, and here's the deal. To the question, I do think that it will. Yeah, at least in terms of viewership. I think to some degree you're still going to have
viewership for sure.
You're still going to have financial limitations in terms of people being able to afford it being during the week, and people having jobs and all those things. That's still a big mountain to climb. And to where you'll say that he's got pressure in terms of his performance, I think his ass is on the hot seat in terms of seeing those viewership and ticket sales boost. That's where I would feel pressure, and that's where I would feel a lot of weight on my shoulders, because listen, the reality is that's the only reason why they brought you in. That's the only reason why they brought you in, is to go and pump up these numbers. That's the reality of it. Now they can spin it however they want, but the fact of the matter is that's what they're swinging on when they put this kid at the plate, is to make sure that there's enough, whether he strikes out and falls flat on his face, or he goes and performs like what everyone's dubbing him as the second coming of Efren, right? Then as long as there's people watching, that's all they give a fuck about. And I get it from a promotional standpoint, and the performance side of it and the merit side of it and the viewership side of it are not mutually exclusive, because I do think that he will go and have a little, and I hope it's like I said earlier today to a buddy of mine. I said, listen, I hope he sells out the fucking place, Mike. I hope that place is rocking. I hope that it's standing.
And I hope he doesn't miss a ball.
Yeah. And here's that's the other
to succeed. If he's the next big thing, if he's the person who actually moves the needle, makes an extra ripple in the water, whatever, however you want to call it, then I, good luck to him. Let's do it. I mean, I understand that part of it. Trust me. That's I don't have a huge problem with it, but and as Matt Paul said a little earlier, and these things over the years should know that, unless you get one of those magical automatic spots, don't expect anything based on merit. And that's why you have wild card spots. everybody knows that. That's why you got wild card spots. If you're number 4 in the rankings, that doesn't cut it. So I understand that part. What I really thought was really funny about this whole one was how many Filipinos were ranked ahead of AJ Manis. Got it.
Yeah.
And so it just that's what they get. So good luck to him. Does well. Like I said, I hope he doesn't miss a ball, and I hope that a week after the Reyes Cup, we've got 9 million new fans who watch every WNT that there is. That would be great.
I hope so too, and it is kind of a brutal spot to be in if you're the kid, because the fact of the matter is he is only 18 years old or 17, whatever it is, So that's a lot of we know how mental the game is, Mike. If he goes and shits the bed, and those Filipino fans can be brutal in their own right in terms of them mocking their own. They can root for their own like no other, but they can go and needle their own as well. And so from that aspect, it is a tough spot for that kid to be in, and you're really going to see what he's made of in terms of his game, how he can handle pressure, and I guess what his ceiling really is, because they're hoping this kid is going to be like the next Jason Shaw for the Asians. You know what I mean? Like they're hoping this kid, especially given his following, that he is going to be, a mainstay of that team for years to come, And so it's a tough spot for the kid to be in, because I've seen a lot of players with a much better resume buckle on that stage, Mike, and that's with having accomplishments and titles and successes and merit, and they have crashed and burned on that stage, So for that kid to kind of be, here you go, it's like, be careful what you wish for, and I'm hoping the kid does well. I just want to, like I said, the merit side of it and the viewers, like all those things, it's separate for me, I'm not wishing any ill will on them, but I do also feel for the guys who did travel all year long and who were putting in the time and the effort and the financial aspect. And don't get me wrong, like they were rewarded in their own right in terms of like whatever prize money they won for that tournament and whatever. And at the end of the day, you're right, because listen, it's like Ricky Bobby says, if you ain't first, you're last. Well, there you go. Because that's about as cutthroat a spot as you can go and be in if you're all those guys, Mike. So anything else on AJ? We're already 40 minutes into the show.
I don't know who Jim Rainier is, but I'm not sure what your point is, but thanks for stepping in.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it wouldn't be. Let's see. We'll see you, buddy. Enjoy. Anyway, there was some more picks announced today, Mike, and it's funny because I went to the gym and I come back and I turn on social media again. And I was like scrolling as well throughout there. And I didn't even see the Sky pick. I mean, obviously we talked about it quite a bit. We both saw the writing on the wall. It did not come as a surprise to me. It surprised me that I missed it, and it was on there for an hour before I shared it. But I want to get your take on seeing Sky Woodward announced for the rest of the world team, Mike.
Well, I mean, we knew that was coming. That's the aftermath of SVB not being in Hanoi. So when SVB wasn't in Hanoi, and we kind of figured that was going to clear him for Reyes Cup, and next thing we see Sky on a plane going to Hanoi, the writing was pretty much on the wall because they wanted a second American for sure. So yeah, I mean, he's good in those situations, and again, it's a wild card pick. So I guess we should never bitch about a wild card pick again. We just try to understand the rationale in making the pick. Okay, we understand that AJ is not even close to one of the top 5 Asian players for this event, but we understand the rationalization for using him, right? Same with Sky. He's so, but he's it's another American player. They needed that. They needed a homegrown American, and so Sky is next up after SVB is out. So I don't have a problem with it. It just is what it is.
You saw like you, Mike. We talked about this many times on the show over the course of the last few weeks. I mean, I saw the writing on the wall. This like you with the second Shane said, "I'm going to Indonesia." That was signed, sealed, and delivered for them because the market aspect is vital to the Matchroom promotional train, and rightfully so. Like they are trying to get eyes to go and watch it, and then you go and see the JJ announcement, and that was the reason why like it just everything kind of came together. You saw JJ get announced, you knew Shane wasn't going to be there. Everything just kind of funny how all that kind of works out because then it all kind of makes sense.
Well, here's another thing about this. We talked about Shane for Mosconi Cup possibilities, right? Now is on World, and he's going to be there for that. But Sky is not staying for the Philippines Open, right?
Right.
That is not going to cost him for Mosconi Cup, clearly. So, again, when it comes to Shane Mosconi Cup, it's a matter of, are they going to hold Hanoi over Mosconi or not? That to me is the question when it comes to Mosconi Cup, whether or not Shane will play.
It just further validates the fact that, like, listen, nobody's ass is safe and nobody's ass is untouchable. Because it's either you play by her rules or you don't play. And you better check off some boxes along the way whenever you go and even get the opportunity to go and play. So when I saw Sky go and push, I just happened to be in Manila. Hopefully you guys can go sweat it. Like, give me a break. You know what I mean? Like, spare me.
That was the best post. Boy, I'll be there to cheer on the boys.
I'll be there to cheer on the. Okay. All right, buddy. Sure. No, look, we talked about before how clutch the kid is in that environment. I'm playing on a bigger stage. Now, when you look at results, especially in terms of this year, Mike, and I mentioned this yesterday, he's way down there in the rankings as well. Like they are really riding that wave of a 2-time Mosconi Cup MVP with this one. And this is
really,
what
from an entertainment value, him and Jason being on the same team is going to be a lot of fun.
It is, and kudos to him because he's something that the sport desperately needs in terms of like being able to work a crowd. Both of them, for that matter, Sky and Jason. Like nobody on the roster goes and works a crowd better than those two. And you got to have that engagement and that environment and feel like if you're a fan, a part of the show, whether you're talking shit to them or you're cheering for them, right? Like you want to feel like you're on that same side with them, And so from that point, I get it. I think if you're some of these Europeans who are in rankings, then it's a pill that you saw coming, but it still doesn't make it any easier to go and swallow if you're, who's ever on whatever, like number 3 through 6, I guess, of the Europeans, and so that's where it gets a little tough for me, just kind of like knowing the struggles that some of these guys go through. You know what I mean, Mike?
Yeah.
And we saw, and listen, even the guy sitting at number 1 in Federer, like he went through that shit early on in his career as well. Being the first guy left off for reasons that were not fair to him either. So many moons ago, and so I hope that Sky does really well in these events historically. I expect the same. You got to have a guy from the American market. I get that. Shane made that decision for him. Once he decided to go and play in Indonesia, he knew what the repercussions were, and it was kind of like next man up, And so, from that standpoint, I get it as well, So, before we jump into Hanoi, Mike, I just want to ask you: these picks, are these Matchroom picks, or you feel like these are genuinely Jeremy Jones and Bustamante picks?
Well, I have a lot of respect for Jeremy Jones. I think he's good,
as do I,
talent, but I also think, he works with Matchroom a lot, so he knows he knows what their expectations are, what they're looking for. So he knows what they want without them having to tell him, right? By the same token, I think Matchroom respects Jeremy's opinions on this stuff. So unless he picked someone really bizarre that nobody else likes, I think that he knows what they want, and he'll things that fit the narrative. Right? That's the way I kind of look at it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really got a whole lot to add to that conversation. To be honest with you, I think it's painfully obvious in my opinion. But at the same time, like you, I have respect for Jeremy, and I do agree with you that they do go and listen to him, and they do value his opinion and value what he brings to the table in terms of knowledge and
he knows what they want.
Yeah,
he
knows
what but he doesn't need to go now. Boosty, different story to a certain extent, and that's and so I'll put it this way. I mean, you think I'm completely wrong, and that's not the first time. But I think he probably had more into the AJ pick than you think, because I do want another Filipino player, and he really likes AJ of all the young Filipino players. By the same token, when we hear Kwok Hong announced, I will not think for a minute that Boosty went running into Emily's office and said, "We got to have that Vietnamese kid in here." Okay, so there's a little bit of both. There's a little bit of trade-off.
Yeah, 100% thoroughly agree with you there. On everything that you're saying. I still look. I'll think of Huang in a whole different kind of category, because that Vietnamese upside is just its own separate animal. You know what I mean? And so it's a little bit it is a little bit untouchable in that aspect. I think you're going to see a Vietnamese player on that team, and rightfully so, for however long the event is going to be out there. So, but it certainly makes for good talking points. And listen, the last 24 hours have been wild, man, because I would have bet a pretty decent amount of money that it was going to be pretty close to the same team as last year in terms of the Reyes Cup.
Yeah.
Now the rest of the world, listen.
Well, I mean, for Team Asia, it still might end up being pretty much the same team, except for AJ instead of a co. That's the only difference, right? That we're thinking at this point.
Yeah. And I think and since it was their decision, it kind of just left the door wide open, whatever you want to do. You know what I mean? And so that was the reason why I reached out to Copigny, because I said, I want to know from the horse's mouth, what the deal is, because it's really shitty if Matchroom forced their hand, but at the same time, it's not fair to go and shit on Matchroom if it was their decision, which it was, from what Copigny said. So, and then at that point, it's okay, you got to do whatever you got to do to put asses in the seats. And I hope that some players can turn this around and use this as further motivation to come out of your shell, because coming out of your shell and working off the table is as important as whatever play you may go and do on the table. And actually, it's probably more important now that I think about it. So,
yeah, well, that's why I said change the rankings to followers, and we're good. Then you'll see people step up their social media game. We'll say Insta and TikTok stuff that you never believe some of these pool players could come up with.
Oh, yeah. Hey, listen, after seeing Marissa's post the other day, you know what I mean?
I'll tell you what, Maritz swimming in Lake Hanoi was one scary video to watch.
Yeah.
That could be getting tetanus shots, yin yang. Meanwhile, he hasn't missed a ball. So we may see him swimming in Vietnamese rivers for the rest of the year if he goes out and wins this thing.
He's moving to Vietnam as we speak, Mike, for sure. Before we move on to the event, Mike, how do you think?
What event?
Yeah, right. What event? What pool? Right. How do you think the rest of Team Asia and Team Rest of the World is gonna shape up?
Well, we both think Huang's guaranteed for the last spot on Team Asia. And for the last spot on Team Rest of the World, I can't believe, I don't know. I can't believe it would be an American, right?
Yeah, no, you're not.
So, so you're not getting another American. So, you know, Sky, yeah, I don't know. With Moritz, I think is a lock.
Still feels like a reach, though, doesn't it? It still feels like a reach.
Well, it's Moritz. Moritz is not a lock. Here's the funny thing: Moritz is not a lock for next week's Reyes Cup. He is a lock for the Mosconi Cup.
How does that fucking make any sense? I mean, it's true. It's true.
Well, because they reduced it to two. They reduced it to 2 spots. They included the rest of the world. So Federer takes the top spot right out of the gate, and so that really only leaves one automatic spot because Federer's got a spot locked already.
I think it just depends whether or not he leaps Fran, because if he leaps, and we said this earlier in the week.
Oh, Moritz already leaped. Fran's out for automatic spot on Reyes. The automatic spot on Reyes can still be Jonas, right? Jonas could win this, and I think if unless Moritz reaches the semifinals, Jonas could win this and get that second spot.
Well, then it's a 2-man.
You got Jason, and you got Jason as a guarantee, and Sky's already announced. So then your fifth spot would be a toss-up, okay? Because to me, it's what happens.
To me, Fran is in. Fran is a lock. Now it's just a matter of whether or not he's getting an automatic or he's not. And if he's not getting an automatic, then he's the 5 guy, and it's a 2-man race between Jonas and Moritz to get the top European spot. But in my opinion, no matter what, Fran is going to be that pick. No matter in other words, it could be Jonas as the top European. Fran's going to be the 5 guy. It could be Moritz as a top European. It could be Jonas will see ya, and Fran's still going to be the 5 guy, no matter what. In my opinion,
I would agree with that.
So, and it's kind of brutal because a lot of these guys kind of fizzled out, which will kind of bring me to the next topic here, Mike, and that's actually talking about pool. We saw a lot of upsets this morning, Mike, as I woke up.
Holy shit.
In the round of 64, and that carried on into the round of 32, Mike.
Did we not say that George Antonakis was going to be a dangerous play for Federer?
Listen, if you didn't see that coming, it's like you don't even know pool, Mike, at this point. You know what I mean? Like everybody on earth saw Antonakis as
we did like the Fran trap.
Listen, Arseni's, whatever the hell that kid's name is, the Finn, he's playing some tough pool. And the one thing that I really love about that kid's game is he's just fearless. Like he ain't got no Bambi on ice in him. He goes out there and he's going to shoot you full of bullets. And so
he lost in the round of 32 on the hill. So he was close to getting in that 16.
But that to me is just a bigger point, because I think that matchup against Fraser Patrick, they're a little bit in the same, in my opinion, Mike, because Fraser Patrick's been doing this number in terms of performances and finishes in events, and we talk about trends all the time on this show, Mike. And that kid's been having some really, really strong finishes. Arseni and Fraser, I really pegged kind of in a similar type category as like a type of player. You know what I mean? And so it's great to see guys actually go out there and work for respect on their name. You know what I mean? And those two in particular are certainly doing so, Mike. And they're traveling, they're cutting their teeth, they're doing all the right things, and just going out there and playing some pretty stand-up pool. But Fran goes out, Chua goes out, Federer goes out. I mean, it was shocking this morning whenever I got up and I looked through the brackets and see all these big names just kind of like drop like flies, Mike. And I want to ask you, why do you think that is in this tournament today?
I don't know. I'd have to talk to him. I mean, the conditions have been really tough in there with the heat. I don't think anybody will use it as an excuse, but it could even level the playing field with some of these matches. I don't know. I didn't watch a lot of the Federer match. I saw a couple of racks, but he got pasted pretty good. He got 10-6. It's not like he was never really a threat to win that match. So I don't know. I really don't know what happened. I didn't see the end of Sky's match either. I know he was up like 8-6.
Yeah,
Ended up losing 10-9 to Roberto, and then Roberto went and turned around after that and knocked Hong out of the event, which didn't earn Roberto any points in the matchroom camp. I guarantee you that.
No. That's the one win where it was like, you fucked up, kid. You fucked up.
As soon as he beat Huang, they said, "Go ahead and announce AJ, would you please?"
Look, let me tell you something, man. When I would have put a pretty decent price on Huang beating Roberto, and I would probably put a pretty decent price on Sky beating Roberto, and good for Roberto, But fuck, did he spoil that party? Because I thought that was like that. I would have heavily favored Huang in that matchup against.
Did you see the highlight clip? Did you see the highlight playing Sky?
Which one?
Sky was up 8-6 in shooting and made a ball, and Roberto said the 7-ball moved, and so they ended up looking at the thing, and the 7-ball was underneath Sky's belly, is down, and he grazed it with the butt end of his cue as he was fouling. So they looked at it, and Sky said, yeah. So they gave the table to Roberto, who promptly stepped up and shot the cue ball where it was, even though he had ball in hand.
Do you think it was like coincidental, or he was giving him some respect, or what do you think, Mike?
I think that he was so concerned talking about what happened and laughing with Sky about it, whatever. He just got up there and shot what was left.
I think. Listen, love Roberto. Great for the game. Great for the game. You talk about working a crowd. He's like Alex. You know what I mean? Like, he does really well. He tries to stay loose. He's got a little bit of dog in him. We saw that with the 2-ball late in that matchup as well. I think following that rack, and actually it was after that rack was whenever I tuned in to the end of it, because when I got up, I was like scoreboard watching. And I saw Sky was up, and then by the time I know it, it was like 8-8. And I'm like, what the fuck happened here? Like, how? I just thought it was Sky was going to coast to the end. You know what I mean? At least in that match. And then it would have set up just a really decent blockbuster match between Sky and Huang in the following round. I guess kudos to Roberto, being the spoiler. I would have never bet on it though, Mike. Ever bet on it, to be honest with you. So, yeah. But either way,
a lot of upsets, but a lot of guys who need to play well are still doing well. Jonas still looking to make some moves. He's still in there swinging hard. Moritz. He's solidifying his spot. More wins. He's into the 16. Yap is doing Yap things. I don't think anybody's gotten 6 games off him yet. So a lot of those guys, Jason, Max Lechner, still, in it at 16, David Alcade. So a lot of familiar names in that 16. A lot of guys went out in around the 32 as well, including Huang, of course, and then Bernie 16. Robbie Capito's still playing well, doing well. This is still playing well, doing well. So there's pretty good final 16.
Yeah, it's decent, all things considered. There's a good mix, like you always see, of like
given who's not there and who got upset. It's still a pretty decent final 16.
Yeah, I think the conditions are a real deal issue, though, Mike. We've seen that from multiple posts, including a guy who's still in there and one Carlo Beato. He
talking about heat stroke. A Filipino talking about heat stroke. That's serious.
And Carlo's a no bullshit excuse kind of guy.
He's low.
He ain't that guy. So for him to go out and on the record about it, and I think that was a big part of, I feel like, why you saw a Federer kind of go out. No disrespect to Antonakis, but I think conditions were really tough and really made it more of a level playing field. These guys are all great at adapting, but I do feel like out there it was a different animal. I heard it yesterday from a few insiders that were there in the event, Mike. I've heard it from a couple players. And of course, I was there last year, I knew how tough it was. And my first question always is, how was it compared to last year? Like, give me a frame of reference here so I can like wrap my brain around it. You know what I mean? And so But where big names fall, you start seeing more opportunity for some other guys. Let's jump into the final 16. You guys can check out WNT live scores. Go to Hanoi Open and check out the current bracket. This is the final 16 players. Up top, Mike, I want to get I want to get your take on the first 4 matches. You got Tristan whoever against Roberto, which I don't even know who that kid Tristan is. Moritz against David, Fraser Patrick against Harry Vergara, and Kiet against Jonas Sudo. Give me your thoughts on those top 4 matches up top, Mike.
Well, we talked about a couple of the matches are in here that we talked about at the round of 64, saying, okay, a couple rounds in, we could be looking at Moritz against David, which we are.
Here we are.
That's a really good match. Moritz has a lot on the line. David, sure, trying to defend Fran as well as, David, this is the time of year where he usually steps up and makes a big move in some event to get himself a little bit closer to being rationalized as a pick for Mosconi. 2 Filipinos, Roberto, I don't know him either. But, and Harry Vergara, another Filipino, Fraser Patrick, you were talking about him. You're high on him. It'd be interesting to see him get through, go up against Jonas, who has a good chance of making that final 8. So a lot of good stuff up top there. I like Moritz or Fraser Patrick to come through that top.
Really? Okay.
To get to either Fraser Patrick or Moritz and Fraser Patrick to get to the final.
No Jonas, huh?
What's that?
So no Jonas.
On the top, no.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I agree with you. Look, I'm gonna just become victim of ignorance here in terms of like looking up top because I got no idea how to peg either one of those games. Roberto never plays WNT events outside of like maybe a US Open, so like I know he's a former world champion finalist. I know his history. He pretty much lives in Texas at this point, so I'm very, very well versed in how he plays the game. But in rotation, especially in big major rotation, I got no clue how to go and clock him, if I'm being honest with you, Mike. Like I said before, I have no idea about Tristan either. I love seeing unknown Filipinos just because I think it'll be good for the overall. But when it comes to like get hooked on this matchup, I just don't know enough. He could be the next, ironically enough, Harry Vergara, because I didn't know who the fuck Harry was until he goes and beats Shane last year at Hanoi. You know what I mean? So could this be his coming out party? We'll see. The Harry and Fraser one, I think is going to be a really solid matchup. Like you said, I'm high on Fraser. I like trends, but Harry can take down whoever, man. Like he is a complete wild card in every sense of the word. The one below him, I would say, is the same thing as the Vietnamese gentleman because that dude took out two Filipinos en route to being in this spot to be able to play Jonas. So you certainly got to go and be aware of how much of a massive threat that he is. Obviously, from him being the last Vietnamese player standing, I'm going to root for him to some degree, but but to Jonas's credit, that kid has had his balls like this close to the saw for the last like however many months, you know what I mean? Especially in this tournament, going to one loss side early, and he is just stepping up, Mike. And that's what you look for when you think about guys who are taking next steps in terms of Mosconi Cup. When you go and clock them in terms of big events like Reyes Cup and Invitationals and whatever, it's like, how are you going to do when the pressure is really at its highest? Well, you got a chance to kind of seal your own fate in one way or the other, but the job isn't done in Jonas' case. It's tough. When it comes to the top 4 matches up top, I think like the sexy pick, I guess, would be Moritz, right? Because he's the most recent winner and all these things. But I don't really know where to go, if I'm being honest with you, Mike. I kind of like the winner coming out of the bottom 2 on the top 4. So like the Fraser-Harry matchup or the Kiet and Jonas matchup. So I think whoever comes out of that round of, I guess, 8 is who I would like coming out to be in the semis, if that makes sense.
Okay. Okay.
Down below is stacked, Mike. I mean, god damn.
Yeah, there's some heat. There's some heat down there, and it's good because they're angling towards all matching up as opposed to two of them playing each other right away. So, you could have, if you go chalk, Carlo against Pius and Jason against Yap. Well, Yap playing Capito is no walk in the park. And Jason playing Max is no walk in the park. So there's a lot of really good matches down there. That's going to be a barn burner down there.
I'm really intrigued at all four of them, Mike. To be honest with you, like to your point, because I can really make arguments either way. The Carlo and Roland one, listen, we know who's more accomplished and who isn't, but Roland is about as fearless and able-bodied Filipino as you can ask for. They've known each other for a long time. There is no shadow kind of factor there where you're in awe of the other guy. Roland just does Roland things. They don't call him Mr. Runner-Up for any kind of coincidence. Like he's got the game to go deep in events. Obviously, we know Carlo's a world champion. On paper, he's going to be the favorite. He deserves to be the favorite in that matchup, but it is tough. Down below, Pius and Raymond, look, we ain't seen Raymond Ferrone in like 5 years, play in any kind of tournament. At least 5 years that I can think of, Mike. But yeah. prior to, he was of one of those Filipinos who was coming over to the States quite regularly, and Raymond can have flashes of decent runs. Now, Raymond can also have some flashes of showing some dog in him as well, So yeah. That's where, like, I don't know which side of the coin that I'm going to get with him. Look, I like Pius. Personally, I like Raymond as well. I'm hoping that Pius does, only because the last 2 years I've been rooting to kind of see him keep going, and he hasn't kept going. He's been consistently where he's at. I want to see the kid, take the next step, ruffle some feathers along the way. You know what I mean? Like make his own wave, and see if you can parlay that into, a Mosconi Cup run, which is what he's rooting for. Down below in Shaw and Max, this is where it's tricky, Mike, because listen, I love Max, and Jason does really good in fucking Hanoi historically, right? In the last 2-3 years, right? And I think he's probably given up like 4 racks the entire match in the entire tournament. Not being sarcastic, but it's not too far off.
Last match, but yeah.
Yeah, so like he's maybe collectively he's given up like 8 or 9 racks then, legitimately. But I think where we talk about the shadow factor, right, and being kind of in awe of the moment, Jason thrives in moments where I feel like Max, listen, I love the guy. He is great to go and get in this round of 16. He's consistent to go and get into a round of 8. But something about when it comes to taking that next step against bigger players where he can't do it, and he hasn't done it to this point, So until you go and do it, I'm just not going to be a buyer. We've seen him in the quarterfinals of a U.S. Open before, Mike. Obviously, I'm going to be rooting for Max, but Jason is a different fucking animal. I expect more fans to go and get there, which is going to further put an emphasis and a value on Jason Shaw continuing in this one. But it's not going to be easy, Mike, because down below you got Robbie and Yap, and that one. Yeah, listen. I don't know where to go. I honestly don't know where to go because Robbie is playing solid. He looks really loose. Yap, we know what he's done this year, and I would not be like. Obviously, I think Yap's going to go, and given the fact that we shit the bed in terms of our picks, I'm rooting for Yap all the way, buddy, so that way I can just save a little bit of face here. You know what I mean? But that bottom part of the bracket is absolutely fucking brutal, Mike. So
that's a buzzsaw to get through for sure. So no matter who you are, you're looking ahead and saying, well, one step at a time, because it's not going to get any easier. Yap and Capito going to be a really, really good matchup.
Down below, Mike, my final 4. Up top for the 2 coming out of the top, I'm going to go with Moritz and Honus. I want to see the sexy matchup. I want to see Mosconi points on the line. I want to see them 2 go and battle it out. And it's not going to get any bigger than the semifinal of the Hanoi Open. So up top, I'm going Jonas and Moritz. Down below, I'm going. I hate to go chalk, Mike. I just hate going chalk. But I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to go chalk on this one. I'm going Yap. I'm going Yap and Carlo on this one, Mike. This tournament has been so gaffy, right? Like, and it is, but it isn't, because you still see a lot of the, like, we see the players who we expect to be there as well. So like it's a weird twist. But Call me crazy, man. I'm gonna go with, and I think Carlo especially. I really like Carlo's side of where he's at to be able to at least.
Yeah, it's Carlos' side. You know, you look at the other 3 players between him and the semifinal. You know, he could lose to any of them. Of course, they're all good players, but
they're not in his.
He's got to be He's got to be a favorite against any of those 3 guys. Down in the bottom 4, though, there's a lot of coin flipping going on down there.
Give me your finals prediction, Mike.
For this bottom bracket here, or for the whole thing?
I'll start with that then, and then I'm going to get your overall.
I'm going to go Carlo and Jason.
Nice. Okay. I like it. Who do you got making the finals of the Hanoi Open, Mike?
I've got Jason and Moritz.
All European? Really, Mike?
I mean, you know, we talked about it. There's no way a European's going to win this event, so I'm back into Europeans. They're closer to America.
Okay. All right. Well, it would be the first time you pissed off some Filipino fans before, Mike. Let's just be real, you know. So, you might as well just go dead off on that one too, buddy.
I'm not going to Reyes Cup this year. I'm good.
That's actually a pretty funny statement, Mike. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think, look, I'm gonna really give some credit here to this young man, and like I mentioned earlier, I think that he's just showing a ton of grit.
You're going Jonas, aren't you?
I'm going Jonas Carlo in the finals, Mike, is where I'm going, because like when you just start seeing something different whenever you need it the most, Jonas has needed it the most for a little bit of time, especially in this event. So I'm going Jonas and Carlo Beato in the finals. So, but I'm still picking Carlo to win it all because Carlo's a different animal. You know, when Carlo is in the position to get to the finish line, he gets to the finish line, Mike.
Yeah,
he does. He's a multiple-time world champion.
The only thing with Carlo is, you know, he could be playing 2 Filipinos in a row, which is Roland and Raymond. And Carlo will tell you that he doesn't like playing Filipinos. He prefer to play people from somewhere else, and that he feels less pressure, you know, all that kind of stuff. Why, I'm not 100% sure. But he has said that before.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a mental thing, mutual respect, all these things. Playing, you know, they like whenever you ask them, yeah. And if you ask them, like I talk to Carlo more than any of the Filipinos that are left, but like he'll always say, and I always believe him, like I'm just rooting for a Filipino. No matter what, I don't care if I don't win, whatever. I want to see a Filipino get there. You know what I mean? So like it's tough to like switch that mentally, if that makes sense. So, but
yeah, he doesn't like people to send him home. I'm sure.
Yeah. So, anyhow, I tell you what, Mike, it's been a hell of a show, and this has been a wild fucking last 8 hours.
We still got a couple announcements to come, man. We'll be talking about more of this stuff in the next couple of days.
Are you going to be around? Are we going to go 3 for 3, Mike? Are we going 3 for 3? I'm here.
I'm here tomorrow.
Okay, we'll have another show tomorrow. I appreciate all you guys for hanging out with us, Mike. How pissed off do you think we made everybody today? You think, Mike? And by everybody, I mean Matchroom.
I thought we kept things pretty. Yeah, not bad. I don't think there's anybody who's got a major gripe. This Jim guy.
He gone. He's out of here. Anyhow, thanks everybody for hanging out with us.
This is all you guys do. Because you guys can't play, all you do is talk. They said, "Well, there's why we have a fucking show,
no,
buddy.
We're not fucking playing.
Terrible. We're not hiding it here.
Look at the title, okay? Actually, this guy right here is a fucking sleeper.
I know. I looked up his name at Fargo rating. I didn't see it anywhere over 500. So
there you go. Look, I thoroughly enjoyed this show. I was looking forward to it. Like this time of year always is a fun time of year, and we've talked about so many times how it's been like flat. You know what I mean?
So it's starting to gain steam.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, because as much as I'll shit on them for the way that it's been, right, in terms of it being flat, look, man, they boosted it today, man. I mean, they pumped it up. Yeah, For sure they are. Yeah, yeah. So you gotta show Matchroom some love there in that regard.
By
Anyway,
the way,
enjoy the rest of.
we still got a couple world championships going on in Asia as well that we're gonna have to get to tomorrow.
Okay, for sure we're going to get to it. And by the way, the women are showing out as well out there in Indonesia, Mike. There's some solid matchups for the final 16 of the women as well. So it's just listen, ladies, we love you, but for time, we'll shelve it for tomorrow. But we'll for sure we'll go and look over that event as well. So anyhow, Mike, I got to run. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and if you don't hear from me, Emily's